Style can help you look more youthful or more experienced, shall we say. I don't like using the word old. And the clothing industry has done an amazing job of making us women feel like we should be feeling bad about getting older. It has a way of planting this idea in our head that we need to cover up or disappear into the background if we can't look forever young, as if we have found the fountain of youth. The truth is, you can look stylish, youthful, and sexy at any age. It's just not the same when you're 50 as when you were 18 or 20. And it's not the same when you're 30 as it was when you were 18 or 20. Sexy and youthful is different at every age range. Everything that is targeted in the style and beauty industry at women over the age of 35 to 40, shall we say, is built around the idea of covering up and disappearing into the background, which brings us to our very first mistake, is dressing age appropriately, whatever that means. And it comes with a long list of rules like no mini skirts, cover up your arms and legs, avoid too bright colors, don't wear loud prints. All of that is complete BS and totally wrong. There is absolutely nothing about it that you need to follow if you don't want to. Following this idea that your clothing must be age appropriate or that you're too old to shop in a certain store is really limiting your options, and it keeps you boring. So if you're shopping at stores for your age group that are age appropriate, you're really limiting yourself to what retailers think women of a certain age should be wearing. And let's not forget that most of these retail corporations are run by men. I don't think men are a great judge of what women should be wearing. Just my personal opinion. So prints are simple or uninteresting. I remember seeing a lot of like weird watercolor type prints for older women. Boring, solid colors. Occasionally you would get like a coral, which is like the safe, fun color, I guess. And I never understood that. You would get bad paisley prints. And don't get me wrong, I love a paisley. I have many things in my closet that are paisley. But it was always like t-shirts. And that was it. That was the only thing you would find a print on. There were very rarely any exciting colors or prints in the sections when I worked retail that were aimed at the mature woman. It was all boring. So to combat this, tip number one for problem number one is venture outside the simple muted pieces. Stay away from that section that is targeted at your age group. Go into Forever 21. Stop into H&M. Check out all of the stores that are for kids, because that's not always the case. And while the fits are going to be different and it's going to be a bit of trial and error as far as fit goes, you're going to find more interesting pieces. You're going to find bright colors, fun prints, and they're going to be youthful because that age group is more in tune with what's happening right now. And the older we get, the less we care. I'm no exception. Now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I don't really care what's happening so much on the runways as I do in my own backyard. What you really want to look at here is pieces and places that aren't your typical go-to stores. And this also goes for the younger set. So if you're under 30 or 35, if you're under 30 or 35, check out stores that you wouldn't normally go to for some basic pieces. Stop into a Chico's and check out their pants. Chico's makes great pants, by the way. Stop into a Clark's and check out their line of comfort shoes. They're not all like grandma nursing nude shoes. Clark's has some really fun and stylish shoes that can be beautiful basic pieces and not destroy your feet. Because trust me, you are going to want your feet undestroyed the older you get. Comfort is your friend. So wrapping up tip one is, you don't want to look like grandma in the kitchen in her muumuu, making cabbage rolls. And you also don't want to look, as my grandma would say, fresh off the turnip truck. Which brings me to point number 2. So the saying fresh off the turnip truck is an old idiom, adage, metaphor for someone who's inexperienced and or naive. And this problem, number 2, is all about trying too hard to look young. So the first thing people notice about us is how we look. And when you try too hard to prove that you're younger, it becomes extremely obvious. It's really a surefire way to put on full display that you're out of touch with what's current in the style area of style and what is modern. So let's look at Josie Grossi here. She has all these feathers. She's white from head to toe. The hair, can we talk about the hair? And the makeup, the whole look is totally overdone. And it's this close to being current as this was shot in the 90s and feathers were big for a time. I remember having some things with feathers on them, but nothing like this. Nothing like this. And she was trying so hard. And this is from the movie Never Been Kissed, one of my all-time favorites. So if you have never seen it, because you're too young to know what it was, or you just never watched it, but you're old enough to have seen it around, go watch it. It's a great movie. She goes back to high school undercover as a reporter and becomes popular, which is completely opposite of what she was before. I digress. And in this scene, this is her first day back at school, and she is trying to prove that she is youthful, that she's young, that she is a high school student who belongs. And she missed the mark a little bit. She missed the mark just a little bit. So this is a prime example of what I mean by trying way too hard. And no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're supposed to avoid youthful pieces altogether, because that was all about tip number 1, is venturing outside of those age-appropriate pieces to find things that look more youthful and have more fun and life in them. The real trick is selecting the pieces that are age-appropriate that won't make you look like you're trying too hard to turn back the clock. So you can't go trend overboard in a single look, and you can't wear clothes that don't fit properly. So tip number 2 is all about making sure that your clothes fit you properly, because that's the biggest giveaway. The older we get, we seem to have 2 groups of women. One group of women buys clothes that are too big, and the other buys them too small. And there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of us hanging out in the middle that wear clothes that fit properly. So with shoulder seams, they should be at your shoulder joint. If it's up higher, it's too small. If it's down lower, it's too big and or oversized, in which case if you're doing that on purpose, that's fine. Oversized really should only be about an inch. With my shoulder joint. Should only be about an inch. That's more than an inch. Inch, maybe 2 inches tops past your shoulder joint. The seam should be. And if it's more than that, then it's way too big and you're swimming in it. For too small, anything that is creating lumps, bumps, or indents in your skin, 1 is not only too small, but 2, super uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to wear that all day, and I don't recommend that you do either. So make sure that your clothes fit properly, and by fitting properly, I mean smoothing over your figure. They shouldn't be skin tight, and they shouldn't be extra loose, unless you're going for an oversized look, and then it's totally acceptable. All bets are off. Speaking of oversized has become a bit of a trend lately. So let's talk about tip number 3. Tip number 3, or issue number 3, that makes you look older than you are when it comes to style, is not updating your look regularly / avoiding trends. So this isn't to say that you can't favor classic looks and styles. I tend to heavily lean towards very classic items myself, and that's not a bad thing inherently. When it becomes a bad thing is when that's what you fall into because it's safe and easy, and that puts you right back into tip 1, where you're dressing age appropriate and boring. So you can still favor classic, simple pieces while incorporating trends and up-to-date items. No, this doesn't mean going on a fast fashion shopping binge for everything that's just come out this season and to get all the latest prints. And while that could be an option, this is really more about using what's current, what's trending, to add a little spice to your outfit. So let's say, for example, that neons are trending and neons are starting to pop up everywhere for this spring. Am I suggesting you go out and buy a neon shirt, dress, pants, or some version thereof? Absolutely not. If that calls to you, yes, do it. But for the majority of us, neons are not my thing. But when they come in, I'm always drawn to them and I'm like, oh, it's so bright and fun. How can I do this in a way that works for me? And the answer is 99.9% of the time, jewelry and accessories, occasionally cosmetics. So with neons, this doesn't mean you need to go buy a whole neon outfit. You can go buy a neon clutch. You can get some neon earrings or a neon necklace. You can get your nails done with neon colors. You could even get neon shoes or a belt. Like any accessory would work here. So using what's trending that way and adding just a small touch of it is enough to communicate to the outside world at large that you are on top of what's current, that you stay aware of what's happening, and that in and of itself communicates youthful vibes, because those who are younger have more time to stay on top of those things. So you can check out trend reports and look at websites like Who What Wear or Vogue.com and see, what's trending for, well, right now, spring 2022. Take a look at what's in stores and pick up small little things that really speak to you, but that are on trend, and that instantly updates your look. So you can go into your closet, put on your solid gray tee, your simple black cardigan, and add that neon necklace, and it is instantly current, youthful, and modern. So to combat all of those issues that are making you look older through style, number one, venture outside the simple muted pieces that are, quote, age appropriate. Number two, make sure that your clothes fit properly. Nothing too tight, nothing too loose, and nothing way too trend overboard. And three, use jewelry and accessories to incorporate what's current and trending into your look so that it has a feel that's a bit more updated, even if you still are largely wearing classic, basic pieces. Until next time, my darlings, venture outside those comfort zones, add some trending pieces, and mind your style. Love you guys. Bye.